I'm Shay Russell from mining.com.au, and joining me today is Peter Lester, the non-exec chair for Aurora Energy Metals. Peter, how are you today?
I'm feeling fine. A bit warm over here in Perth, but going well.
Let's kick off with the interim scoping study Aurora has just recently released. Tell me, why have you put this information out to the market now?
Well, it's interesting because it's got the word interim in there. We've been conducting a full scoping study on the Aurora Uranium Project, which is in Oregon, right next to the Nevada border, for quite some time. And during the process of it, we've come across some interesting innovations in the processing of the uranium that are worth a little bit more study. So as a result of that, we could have held up the scoping study until all that work was done, which would take it through well into April. But we'd done all the other work. So we thought it was useful to put an interim report out with everything else in and tell the market that, yes, we've been working on it, it's going well, and we can explain in a couple of minutes what those areas are, where it's going well, and explain that the last little bit is underway and we'll put the final document out early next quarter, which is soon.
All right, well, let's start with one of the more juicy highlights of the report. What is one of the key takeaways from this interim scoping study for the market?
We've demonstrated with all the work we've done in the mining, transport, processing of uranium, which is a bit of a trick, that there are no showstoppers. Technically, this project is now viable, and technically, we've gone a long way to de-risking it. And that's a very important part in a project that's of this size, particularly when it's well overseas. So we're very happy with that part. We've got a clear pathway now to the development of the project. Development being a word that we use for feasibility studies, not ongoing stuff, not actually digging holes just yet. And we've got greater certainty around a lot of the aspects of it, like the mining study, no real issues. Transport studies, no real issues. And we've got a new processing route that we're investigating. No showstoppers there, but we have to define one and do some costs on it. And that's why the last little bit of this study wasn't released in this and why we use the word interim.
So you've talked about how you've essentially de-risked the current project for the company, but why is this an important step to release to the market right now?
There are a couple of reasons for that, but probably there's a lot of talk about uranium in the market. The price a few months ago went well over $100 a pound. It's down in the 80s at the moment. But that compared to last year, it was floating around $25-30 a pound. It's come up a long way. Uranium is a hot topic. The second one is, why is it being driven like this? Well, one of the reasons is the United States. The US does not have a lot of its own uranium. As a result, it imports a lot of uranium. It also imports some of that from Russia. There's an act that goes before Congress somewhere in the next few months. They've said it'll be before the election, which is going to redefine all of this in the uranium market for the US. The bottom line out of that is that the Russian imports stop in 2028. It's a hard stop. Bang. None. And that's going to make a big hole in uranium supply to the power utilities in the US. Now, remember, the US is a big power consumer from nuclear plants. When they get a hole as deep as we think they're going to get in supply of uranium, in 2028 is the deadline. That's only 4 years away. They're going to need uranium from their own sources. This is in the United States of America. So by releasing this now, and then we'll put the financial numbers on the end of it in early next quarter, we're sending a signal to the market and a signal to those players in the United States, the players being the utilities that are going to consume it, that Aurora is coming. We're going to build a uranium project, and I might add, it is currently the largest undeveloped, mineable, I'll explain that term in a minute, uranium project in the United States. And it's a scoping study level. So we're already doing a study on it. So we've demonstrated that you can mine it, you can transport it, and you can treat it.
So you've sort of taken me very neatly to where I want to go for my next question. And that is, as you said before, you don't have any, shovel ready, like start digging hole projects, but you've just outlined a very bullish case for uranium overall. But why would investors, or why should investors consider your company right now?
I'll go two spots only. One, Well, obviously it's uranium, and uranium is a topic of discussion for the first time in a long time. 2, it's in a tier 1 jurisdiction.
All right, Peter, that is a pretty compelling case of what's happening right now. And you did hint before that there is a full scoping study to be released. But what are the key events a shareholder can look forward to seeing next?
Well, the full scoping study is going to involve finalising the what we call the back end of the processing to produce uranium. And we're doing a lot of test work at the moment here in Perth, one of the labs, which is demonstrating a process route which is not one we were focused on initially. We were focused on 2 processing routes. We've now come up with the idea, or recently come up with the idea, that if you use the best of one of them and the best of another one, given we have 2 different types of material that will go into the plant, we can possibly come up with the optimised processing route. Now, because that test work is still ongoing, we need to get the numbers. From those numbers, we'll be able to calculate capital costs, operating costs, and so on. That goes into the financial model. Unfortunately, that's still ongoing. So what they can expect is, in the next month or so, a full scoping study. Every analyst who looks at us will want to know those numbers, because analysts put numbers in spreadsheets. I was one once. So that's what they can expect. The other thing is that they will get a program going forward. The program going forward will be doing a lot of drilling in the North American autumn because we're going to need a lot more samples in going into the more formal feasibility studies to test and refine and define the actual process that we're going to do. And once that's done, it's onwards through feasibility studies and large market caps and all that sort of stuff.
Peter, it sounds like you've got a very exciting year ahead. Thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to what happens next.
Absolutely my pleasure, Shay.